Hello, welcome to McBoss Capital channel. My name is Michael Chu. This is the stock market recap video for the week ending March 6, 2026. So we are into March, and the first week of March has been brutal with the US, Israel, and Iran war, going very hard right now, and the oil price has really jumped. And on Friday, we had a almost 12% jump here, and it's a very big jump. I think it has the biggest weekly gain in long time. So you can see from this bar here, it's just tremendous. This is the United States Oil Fund ETF here. It's up a lot, 32% for the week. And so this really helped bring the market down this week. The other news that came out on Friday also hurt the market was the non-farm payrolls fell 92,000 versus views for a gain. So this is also surprisingly a bad number. So you can see on this chart here, this is from Investor Business Daily newspaper. February down 92,000 right here, this bar chart. And then the unemployment rate also has been, ticking up to 4.4% here. Here's the Nasdaq Composite Index. So we're seeing a trend forming right now, about 8 weeks down in general, with a top high to low of a drop of 7.8%, and we came down to the black line, which is the 40 weeks moving average, and we bounced a little bit off it, but yeah, overall we are in a downtrend. So we're gonna get tested around this zone, between the red line, which is the 10-week, and the black line in coming week and so. And so we'll see how the Nasdaq perform. Lots of distribution days. I believe there's 9 distribution days, which is higher days of higher volume of selling. And you can see that on the weekly chart as well, the volume there. On the daily chart, Monday, yeah, we gapped down, but we came back up towards the end of day, still under the 10-day moving average with that trend line there. Then Tuesday, we went down further. And again, we try to close up at the top. So there's some resilience, there's some buying coming in as we dropped in the morning, but came back in the afternoon. And then on Wednesday, we tried to come back to the short-term moving average, which is the green and pink line here. But again, the next day, Thursday, it came down and then rebound back, and then Friday, there was just too much pressure on the selling side. It never came back. So far, we have been able to avoid the 200-day or black line here without touching it. But, again, it looks like we might test this line, in coming days here. So something to watch for. Because if we do fall under it decisively, that could start a whole new downtrend here that we don't want to really be part of. So here's S&P 500 weekly chart. Also very similar downtrend here for many weeks now. We also hit a new low this week as well, new recent low. Volume also have been quite tremendous on the distribution side. On the daily chart, we got resistance right here, and then we start falling. Pretty big sell-off on Tuesday before rebounding, and then come back Wednesday and Thursday, but it just couldn't hold on Friday, and we gapped down, and we now close at a new recent low. So also not too far from the black line here. We might test it. We'll see. This is Dow Jones Industrial weekly chart here. We also see a pretty strong downtrend at this moment, pulling back towards near the black line. We haven't got there, but we're getting closer. And this week it dropped 3%. On the daily chart, we also found resistance here near the 10-day moving average. And then Thursday and Friday, you can see it just kind of give up and make a new low. It did close at the top of the range, however, on Friday, but again, we're not very far from this black line right here. Here's Russell 2000 weekly chart. It also looked pretty bad as we're coming down below the red line here, and now we are stuck somewhere in between that red line and the black line, which is the 40 weeks moving average. Here's a daily look on daily chart for the Russell. We found resistance here multiple times on the 10-day moving average, and then now we're starting to give up, and it closed at the bottom of the range on Friday, so not a very good thing. This is the innovative IBD 50 ETF. This was doing really well. We were building a cup with a handle pattern here. We broke out the week before, but this week we just got hammered. Surprisingly, even though the oil price went up, but the gold price didn't follow, so many gold stocks were hit hard as well. And look at the big weekly chart here, down 10%, all the way coming back down to the red line here, 10-week moving average. On the daily chart, you can see here how it just kind of give up after Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So yeah, a really big drop here in just a few days. So a lot of growth stocks definitely got hit this week. There's really not many growth stocks that holding well this week. So we'll do a second part of video about my growth stocks list, and it definitely have deteriorated in terms of the number of stocks in uptrend. So but we'll highlight whatever is still in uptrend and see if there's any chance those can become the next leaders. So please follow that when that comes out. Here's the 10-year yield. Coming back up to the 10-week moving average here. Sorry, the 50-day moving average red line around 4.13%. The US dollar, this is UUP ETF here, also acting really strong this week, holding near this black line, which is the 200-day moving average there. Gold price came down this week after a big, it topped on Monday here, but it's still near the short-term moving averages, trading around there. Silver also topped there on Monday and came back. Actually, that's last Friday, and then Monday it tried to bounce back, but not much success, and now trading slightly below the short-term moving averages. Copper also doing the same thing, trading below the short-term moving averages. This is Nasdaq, uranium, and nuclear. This one also trading in a downtrend at this moment. Bitcoin tried to bounce back this week, but also didn't have much success. Friday kind of gap back down under the short-term moving average. This is Dow Transport. It was holding pretty nice until Thursday, where it came back down really hard, and Friday we kind of undercut the red line, which is 50-day moving average. So that is a bad sign as well. We'll look at the spider sectors here. We'll start with the technology, S&P technology ETF here. This one is currently below the 10-day moving average and just holding on to near the black line, which is 200-day moving average. So what we want to see if it can bounce off here or whether it will cut through that and close, below that. Communication is still holding tight near the short-term moving average. Retail has also fallen. Now it is below the black line, so this doesn't look as good. Consumer staples, which have been holding up really nicely recently until this week as well. So again, many areas fall this week, even some of the more defensive areas like staples. Consumer discretionary also fell below the black line, but it did try to come back. Friday it kind of, came back, gap down again, but it was able to close in the upper half of the range. We'll see whether we can form a bounce here and a new trend here, like uptrend here. Industrial, just like Dow Transport, also start to fall apart on Thursday and Friday before rebounding near the end of the day. So we're near the red line there. XLB materials also fall apart this week, so a lot of areas just fall apart this week. Right now, this is the red line, still at a very strong uptrend momentum. We'll see if it can bounce here. Utilities, this one is holding on to its near short-term moving average here, so this one actually didn't lose too much this week. Healthcare also gave up its short-term moving averages here, and we did make a new recent low on Friday. Energy, this one also going strong, but however it hasn't performed as well as oil, making new high. Maybe other areas are pulling it down besides oil. Here's financial, hasn't been doing well. This is probably not the best looking chart at all. It's been on a downtrend for quite a while now, and we make another new low on Friday before bouncing back to the top of the range, but we are still far below that short-term moving average. This is real estate ETF, also start to fall below the short-term moving average. Here's equal weight RSP, was doing really well recently. Again, this one also gave up this week and is now below the red line, which is the 50-day moving average. So this is equal weight Nasdaq 100. Surprisingly, this didn't make a new low on Friday. So this one might want to watch and see what happened next. It's still below the short-term moving average though. So take a quick look at the New York Stock Exchange advanced decline line here. We see that it has hit a new recent low here, which is not a good sign. Um, and then we look at Nasdaq advanced decline line. And here's Nasdaq advanced decline line also dropping to levels near November level at the low here, so also not good. For the week ahead, we have the inflation data CPI coming out on Wednesday. And again, obviously, oil prices right now is a wild card. It can definitely continue to rise if things don't show any improvement in that region. And we have earnings from Oracle, Adobe, and Rubrik. So this is the CBOE Volatility Index. We hit a new closing high on Friday, so definitely showing lots of volatility, which is not usually a good thing for the market as investors are selling off. Usually this is when it rise. And yeah, who knows how much more we can go, like, whether it'll be something like this where it's crazy here back early last year, or whether this will subside and come back down. We'll see what kind of news will come out, especially relating to Middle East and what happened to the oil price. Here's 1X Semiconductor SMH, also falling 2 weeks in a row now. It is now trading below the red line. The last time it did that was also back in November, but it bounced back right away the following week here. So we really need to see that, otherwise we could be heading down a lot further. Here's the daily chart. We haven't undercut the previous low yet, but we have broken down below the red line here. So and now we can clearly see this downtrend line forming. Let's look at Nvidia. This one, been trading around the red line, which is the 50-day moving average, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and now we are near the 200 black day moving average black line. So we haven't crossed underneath it once yet, but if we do, we definitely need to watch out for that. Here's AMD, also trading near the black line as well. Just watch, see how it reacts around that line. Broadcom report this week. It did bounce pretty nicely on that earnings news here. Friday, it tried to come out of this red line, which is the 50-day moving average, but it got rejected and fall back by end of day. So it still looked pretty tight trading so far. So it's good to keep an eye on this in case it does break out to the upside above this trend line. TSM also start to fall apart here towards the red line here. So volume has been increasing as well. So again, we need to see how it reacts around this line going forward. So IGV, which is the software area, has really been hit hard. But recently, we're seeing the opposite of what's happening to SMH, which going down for 2 weeks in a row. This is actually going up for 2 weeks in a row, surprisingly. I mean, this is the only probably one area of that is doing well this week. And it's up 7% for the week. And look at Friday where it closed. It actually didn't close that much down compared to Thursday. It actually ended up positive. Like, it was down in the morning, but it recovered. This is a very strong momentum right now. Out of the last, I don't know, 9 trading days, there was only, or 8 trading days, no, 9 trading days here actually. Only one day was red, and even that day it closed at the top of the range, and we're climbing back very strong against towards this red line here. So yeah, so the momentum is definitely building. Volume has also been really high as well, showing that there's a support level for this. Here we're going to cover the mega caps for the software group, but in my next video, I'll cover more of the other smaller, that's not a mega cap software stocks. So please follow that. So just one thing to note before we look at each stock here in this group is that this is climbing back towards the red line, which is the 50-day moving average. So it has a lot of room to climb still before we reach that line here on the group wise. How many stocks in this group. So we're gonna try to compare stocks in that line here. Here's Microsoft. So we are still far from that. This one just barely came out above the pink line, which is the 21-day moving average. So we still have a long way to get back to the red line. So this one is definitely not. I mean, it's relatively performing better than a lot of stocks in the market, but within this group, it's definitely lagging a little bit because as we saw, IGV is probably halfway or more than halfway closer to the red line. Next, we have Palantir, and you can see here Palantir actually is past the red line on Friday before falling back to sit near that line. So this one is acting a lot more stronger in that sense, from that perspective, right? So I would definitely pay more attention to this one, if comparing relative to Microsoft in that case. Looking at Amazon fall back on Friday, but again, it's just sitting at the 21-day line. It still have a more room before it get to the 50-day line. Meta also fell back below its short-term moving average, so definitely not as strong as the other candidates we saw like Palantir. So here's Google chart. This hasn't really moved much. That's very interesting. It's trading really tight, but it's also not moving up. So I'm not sure what it's waiting for. That's interesting. Now we move on to Apple. Apple, was building this nice tight handle here, but it fell apart. Then it bounced back, and now it fell apart again. It did close, at the upper range on Friday, but it is still in a kind of pullback trend here. So, and below all the short-term moving average. Tesla also trading really tight, not doing much at all. Can be a good thing, especially for this week, considering how some stocks have fallen, but this one is just trading tight. It is now at the black line, 200 days. So again, very key line here. If it breaks below it and stay there for a few days, that's not a good sign. Here's one chart that really is, probably if you don't pay attention to this, it has come back quite a bit. Look at this chart. It's trading so tight even after this gap up here, showing lots of demand for it. Volume is pretty high. And on the one day that, Friday was, obviously market didn't do well. It didn't give up much. This is worry, and it closed at the top of the range too. So volume was at the lowest on the selling side, which is a very good sign. Yeah, so definitely, now that we are above 50-day, we are, pretty much officially in uptrend again. So again, the slope is very strong. We wanted to see if this could become, definitely one of the leaders in the next rally. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. Overall, as I mentioned, many areas got hit this week. The only is, there's, pockets here like Netflix and so forth that are still doing the bouncing back. And obviously the software area doing much better. And we'll cover more software stocks in my next video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Have yourself a good weekend.